We grind lots of small parts and we're going through wheels like crazy. How can we reduce our wheel consumption? When people are doing production grinding, I mean they're grinding lots and lots of parts, the same part over and over again with big batch sizes of 1,000 parts, 2,000 parts, 10,000 parts, whatever. They always dress more than they need to. And the reason is because they just don't know how much to dress. They say, well, I don't really know much to dress and I want to be safe, so they dress far more than they need to. This is particularly true on the smaller sizes. So there's a very quick test you can do to figure out how much you should dress on a certain grinding operation. Typically, when you grind, let's say you've got a part and you dress the wheel and then you grind and then you dress and then you grind, you dress and you grind. Dress the wheel to keep form and you just keep going, dressing and grinding. Now, in the no dress test, is what I call it, you dress the wheel, then you turn off the dresser, and then you grind 5, 10, 20, 30 parts without dressing. And then when you're done, you take them over, and just with a micrometer, you measure how the part dimension changes over those 30 parts. And you measure it in the part where the wheel is wearing away. And then you take that, you plot it in Excel, you fit a line through it, and you see, okay, on average, I'm wearing half a thou per part, 12 microns per part, whatever it is. So then what you say is, okay, my wheel wear, or at least in this case, is 2.1 microns per part, or about 1/10 of a thou per part. So how much do I want to dress? Well, if my wheel wear is about 2 microns per part, I want to include kind of a safety factor. I don't want to be right on the edge. So why don't we dress 4 microns per part? Or let's dress 8 microns every 2 parts, or something like that. But what we want is a dressing safety factor where we're dressing maybe 2 or 3 times the amount of wheel wear we're getting. In this particular case, this was a company that I worked at a few years ago. We did a no dress test, and they were wearing about 2.1 microns per part. Their actual dressing was 15 microns per part. So they had a dressing safety factor of a little bit over 7, which means they were dressing 7 times the amount of wheel wear that they were getting during the grinding process. So we said, well, you guys really don't need to dress 15 microns per part. You could very easily dress 10 microns, 5 microns, something else. So a good safety factor might be 3. So let's say in this case, well, why don't you guys dress 6 microns per part? That'll cut their wheel consumption a huge amount. So the no dress test is a process I use a lot, and I've gotten a lot of my customers using it. And for example, one customer, we got him using it and said, okay, over the next couple weeks, I want you to do a no dress test on a lot of your processes, record the results, plot them, and then come up with the dressing safety factor and say, okay, we're going to dress this much based on how much wheel wear we're getting. And then one particular company, and this is pretty typical, said, yeah, we did this over the course of a couple weeks, and then we started changing, and now we've cut our wheel consumption by over 1/2 just because we now know how much to dress. If you're going through $300,000 of wheels a year, cutting your consumption in half is $150,000 without doing anything to affect your grinding process, just by knowing how much you should dress when you're dressing your wheel, and doing that based on actually taking a real measurement and saying, okay, this is my wheel wear, I'm going to dress this much, and I can guarantee you that you'll reduce your wheel consumption a drastic amount.